Hello and welcome to the Power Your Advice podcast. The Power Your Advice podcast is designed to bring financial advisors new ideas, why those ideas should be considered, and how to implement them into your business. This podcast is brought to you by Advisorpedia, the best place for advisors to grow their minds and businesses. And now, please join your host, Doug Heikkinen.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. We're here at the FSI OneVoice Conference in Dallas, Texas with Forrest Harper, who's the President and CEO of INROADS. Welcome, Forrest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being a part of this today.
I'm really excited to have you on. So tell me about the origin of INROADS, its purpose, and its journey to beginnings to now.
Absolutely. To tell you about it, I would just ask you to imagine this. It's 1944. A white stately gentleman graduates from Princeton University and decides to go serve his country as a naval pilot. He goes out, finishes his duty of service to the country, comes back. He's in a well-to-do family, but he's not right about what's going on in the country at the time because it's now the early 60s. And racial unrest, jobs, inequality were happening across the country. And he felt he had a desire and a need to do something about it. And so what he did, he started working and volunteering, helping out young black and brown kids who basically were underserved. And he felt he could make a difference between coaching, education, and developing them to be able to get good job skills and be work ready. But he didn't have the resources, not the plan yet. So he took a busload of African-American and Hispanic kids from his neighborhood to a little small rally in Washington in 1963.
Small rally.
And that small rally unveiled an opportunity for him to get the kids to see and hear what was going on in the country, but also he could hear Martin Luther King Jr. And when he did that, he heard that speech, he caught the vision. And the vision was there was too much of a gap, and he thought he could make a difference in racial equity and social justice. So he got back on the bus, took the kids back home, and then when he did that, he decided this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to make a difference, to help develop young kids and bright minds out of the ghettos and barrios at the time. And he went home and told his family that, hey, listen, I found out what I want to do. He had 4 kids, wife, and you heard this thump. That thump was his wife falling over because he said he wanted to do something to make an impact for years to come. And he wanted to make sure that there was no economic gap between kids on one side of the railroad track and kids on the other side. And so he wanted to create inroads into corporate America and entrepreneurial jobs because he felt if he could get the students through good education, development and training, and then in the corporate America, making good middle income wages, they had a chance to go on to prosperity and be able to thrive in wealth. And so after that, he created INROADS. It took him 7 years to build it. And once he created it in 7 years, he went to 17 corporations with 27 students and said, would you give a paid internship to these students? And those companies said yes. Now today, we fast forward, we have 30,000 alumni that's come through this program, to include the CEO of TIAA. She's the first and only of 2 African-American female CEOs in the Fortune 500.
What are some of the milestones that has happened to INROADS over the past 50 years that have been really important?
So if you go back to the 70s, when he launched it in 1970, he was trying to do one city, and then he increased it to 40 cities. And so the first one is, how could he expand the program from Chicago to the rest of the nation? That was the first milestone.
Right.
And he did. Went from one city, and he went to 40. The second milestone was to get students who did internships to get job offers within 6 months after they graduated.
With the same company?
With the same company that they interned with. which means the company made an investment in two ways: just talent and wanted to focus on some kind of diversity. The third milestone had to do with the actual economic impact, and that was these students were making income that from a Fortune 1000 company. And when they did that, they could take care of their families and they could go on and thrive in their careers, and the career mobility would be strong. And then last but not least, the fourth one was they would give back to the community. And he had a philosophy that said, basically, to much is whom is given, much is expected. And Father Carr, when he retired, that's what happened. And in the midst of all that, he was recognized for his unique creating this model by the King Center. In 1993, he won the Salute to Greatness Award. And if you look at the trail number of people who won that award, not many people from this bite, but he won that award. And Mrs. King signed a painting for him, and I have it in my office. And it said, "Keep doing the work that you're doing, and on behalf of Martin." And so that's how this model got built, and some of the deliverables along the way. Now we're the nation's largest nonprofit, social impact, and career development model in the nation.
How did you get here, Forrest?
The way I got here is I had a great career, very fortunate and humble, in the pharmaceutical industry. And at the time that I was interviewing for a role, I didn't get an internship, but someone pulled me aside as a mentor, which is one of the key components of the program, and said, "I'd like to introduce you to the pharmaceutical industry." I didn't know what a pharma nor a ceutical was, but he told me it was good income and that you could be able to benefit those who suffer from illnesses, and that's what drove me. So after 30 years, I began to do outreach in the community for those who could not afford medicines, and Pfizer was giving it to them. So I was put in charge of the underserved and underrepresented communities. And when I did that, I found out what INROADS was doing. And I brought some interns into Pfizer from INROADS. And when I did that, I said, wow, wouldn't it be something if I could ever run an organization like this? And then one day, a knock came to my door. And someone said, "We'd like you to be the CEO of INROADS." And I go, wow, what a privilege, a humble experience. And I had one notion when I was in corporate America. I'd been the first African-American vice president, the first African-American director. I've been the first in 8 different positions as an African-American. And I woke up one morning and looked at the mirror and just said, "Forrest, there's nothing you can do about being the first, but there's always something you can do about being the only." And so I made it my pledge that if I could work in another role to make sure that there are no more onlys. And that's how I got to INROADS.
So what is your focus in working with financial services and the great, let me reset that.
All right, go right ahead.
What is your focus in working in financial services and with OneVoice, FSI?
Well, the good news is that FSI set out a priority and a strategy in their advocacy and their focus areas on growth, on diversity and inclusion, and we align with that because that's what we're doing. Our founder said that we wanted to scale our impact. Once we made one impact, don't stop there. And then secondly, it's about growth of our participants in the program in their economic growth to help their families and their communities. So the focus was that what's the other additive? The diversity. We have all diverse students, and then so we wanted to build a pipeline and an ecosystem and a pathway to get students in to learn more about financial services and as an advisor, and then learn from it and get into the career. And so FSI had a goal, we had a goal, and those goals matched up together. And so that's how we are working together in order to build and get more students involved that are of color into the financial services industry.
Now, students can pick a lot of different career paths. Are you finding they're interested in financial services?
It doesn't come automatic. We have to share with them. What's the old phrase? You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so we've done this in many fields. I'll give you another one. Actuarial science.
I'm not running to that one.
Being involved, being an actuary.
Yeah.
Right? And until you ask them, so we do surveys, and we ask students, do you know anything about being a financial advisor? If you knew these three things, would you be interested? All we're trying to do is spark passion and interest. Once we spark the passion and interest in being a financial advisor, they start going through, wow, I'd like to do that. And that's how we do it. We get their interest and their passion first.
So beyond providing diverse talent, what's INROADS' vision?
INROADS' vision is to be a provider of innovative solutions to what we call leveling the playing field towards equity in America. And that is, the playing field is not level. Our goal is to bring a solution to the table, and part of that solution is FSI. So we want FSI to build a pathway with us to bring diverse students to be a part of their early careers so they can see and become opportunity to be hired years later as they rotate through the program. And then the other part of our vision is to be a solution that's sustainable. Most of the time we come in with issues that come through and we stop and start. And as I heard today, Chris Perry from Brokerage talked about this. He said, we're not here for the moment. We're here as a movement. And I'll take you all the way back. When our founder went to the movement in the mall in Washington in 1963, it was about a movement. And it's a journey. And so we're here to provide a solution for a sustainable period of time so that we can get more students and get the companies and the agencies to be more diverse for a long period of time.
Well, it only makes sense because the nation is changing drastically with what its faces look like, and financial services needs to catch up quickly or they're going to be left out.
Absolutely. I couldn't echo that more, that part of the solution is that we want to represent the composition of the new majority. And so when you look at that trend's going to continue to go.
It is.
And we have to evolve. FSI has to evolve. And today, what I saw was an open, welcome sense of saying they're ready to evolve.
How can we help corporate America do better with this?
Well, first of all, we got to admit we have a problem. Once we admit we have a problem, then there's an opportunity to say what actions you're going to take from the top. We're part of a group called CEOs in Action. And these are almost 1,200 CEOs in the Fortune 2000 that made a pledge 2 years ago that said that they're going to do something about this. And now we fast forward since the killing of George Floyd and the unfortunate deaths of others, corporate America has come together and said, we're going to pledge finances behind this along with cultural commitments. And so last week, 2 weeks ago, the Washington Post reported out that as of today, corporate America has pledged up to $50 billion, that's with a B, $50 billion, to focus on social justice and racial equity in America. That's a good start because now it's accountable. And someone's going to ask the question, what did you do with the money? And so in corporate America, it's like an earnings report. They're going to be looking for impact. Mm-hmm. So the second part is accountability. Admit it, be accountable. And then third, come back and measure. And if you're not doing it right, keep doing it until we get it right.
So you have answers to lots of great questions. So here's my last question.
I don't know.
How can we close the racial wealth gap in America?
Oh, boy. This one is one that we're very proud to be a part of the solution. The reason we're proud to be a part of the solution, most of us who are reading know that data from the St. Louis Federal Reserve and the Department of Labor indicated in 1970, the average black family had, at the end of retirement, had a net worth of about $7,000. The average white family was $70,000. Today, that number is approximately $17,000 for African Americans and $171,000 for white middle-class families. We got a lot of work to do. And the way we close it is we took and looked at a data on all the students we put on our pathway in our program, and we compared 1,000 African Americans who went through our program and 1,000 versus 1,000 white executives that did not go through our program. And when it came to net income and net worth, 40% of the INROADS alum that went through our program outpaced their white counterpart in income and net worth. And then number 3, when it came to home ownership, which is a crown jewel of wealth creation, INROADS alum outpaced their white counterparts. So we have part A to the solution, and that is get students and underserved youth into programs like INROADS with partners like FSI to give them paid internships so they can grow. And then let's scale this. We need 10 times more students involved and 10 times more companies doing what we do.
How can corporations get involved in INROADS, and how can students find you to get involved to find internships?
Well, let's start with the student part. It's easy. Just go to inroads.org and they can sign on to become a candidate for an paid internship, or be involved in a high school program at local cities. So that's one for the students. It's very easy. It doesn't cost anything, not one nickel for any student to participate in the program. How corporations can get involved is take a look at your DEI plan, your diversity, equity, inclusion plan, and take a look at your social impact plan. And if you're one of those companies that made the commitment to invest in the pipeline, call INROADS, call us. Contact us at inroads.org, and we'll help you build a blueprint of how you can change that. And then the second part is that anybody in any corporation as an individual person can volunteer their time, their talent, and their treasure to help out with one student at a time. And if you want to volunteer to be a mentor, if you want to share your talents and help us educate these young, talented, diverse students, call us. You can volunteer. In corporate America, help us scale this program by giving charitable investments and donations to INROADS so we can scale the program.
Forrest, thank you so much for being with us. We at Advisorpedia pledge to help you get that word out.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
For everybody at Advisorpedia, our partners, Flyer Financial Technologies, Integrated Partners, our producer, Jakey Beard, and the Power Your Advice podcast team, this is Doug Heikkinen.